Good evening, guys. Welcome to this episode by The Nationalist. I'm your host, Kennedy Abomo. Today, we are going to analyze Ruto's response to Raila Odinga's petition. The response itself is over 250 pages, that is including the evidence and attachments. However, the affidavit by Ruto is only about 67 pages. We are going to look at that affidavit and summarize its content for ease of understanding. Ruto begins his response by appealing to emotions, what is generally called argumentum ad passiones. This is evidence in paragraph 4 to 7 of that response. There are things that he highlights about Raila and what he calls distinct common features that underlie 30-year pattern of Raila's political career. He is saying that these distinct features include two things. One, that Raila uses presidential petitions as a means of gaining entry into government. What does he cite as an example? He's saying that in 1997, Raila used the handshake as a means of getting into government. In 2007, he says again, Raila disputed results until he was allowed to form a government of national unity. And then he cites the 2017 handshake between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila as another instructive example of Raila forcing his way into government after losing elections. The second thing that he points to is the tendency of Raila to push or call for members of the electoral body, members of the electoral management bodies to be kicked out from office after every instance that is failed to clinch the presidency. He cites again as example the Kivuitu-led electoral commission, which Raila pushed to be disbanded, the Isaac Hassan-led IEBC, and the 2017 IEBC led by Chebukati. So he's saying that these are patterns that Raila uses as a means of keeping the nation in a perpetual electioneering mode, as is done throughout his 30-year political career. He's also making certain allegations that Kenyans generally do not really care about whatever is going to go on, the petition and everything, that Kenyans want to move on. Kenyans accepted the results as evidenced by the peace and calm that permeates the nation. So to him, that shows that the nation is ready to move and the nation has accepted him as the president or as the next president of the republic. Lastly, he asserts that Raila's petition, together with others which had been filed, I believe 8 other petitions were also filed challenging his election as president and calling for nullification of the presidential results. To these petitions, he say that these petitions were used or are being used by Raila Odinga as a strategy. He's calling that strategy the shock and awe strategy, where he argues that Raila intends to overwhelm him by the noise and spectacular display of might. That because there are several petitions that are filed against him or that seek to nullify his election as president, then that is just a strategy to demonstrate, or by Raila to demonstrate that people are against his election as president. Is this approach, or the way he started it, is it really right or wrong? Well, I won't say whether or not it is right, but I would say that Ruto was trying to win the judges, first of all, through what we call the mind games, is winning them emotionally. That is a strategy that can work in your favor when making such level of argument. However, I doubt that the Supreme Court would be swayed by such allegations that are being leveled. It is like this. If somebody steals from you, let's say, you go to court, then the court says, okay, this person stole from you, that person is charged. Another person again steals from you. Do you mean that you cannot go to court? You would still go to court. So the fact that these things happen does not really bar Raila from approaching court and seeking the remedies from the court. Therefore, let us go to the substance of his response. The substance of the response is in 8 subheadings. 8 subheadings. The first one that he addresses is the issue of omission of 27 constituencies. In this regard, he's arguing and saying that those results from those constituencies were verified, tallied and verified. The problem that he says, that he's noting, is that members of the Azimio or agents of Azimio could not allow IEBC to announce some of the results from those 27 constituencies. He's also saying that some of those results from the 27 constituencies were actually announced by the disaffected commissioners, whom he accused of working with Azimio. So the 4 commissioners, he's saying, really announced some of the results from those disputed 27 constituencies. The second point that he argues, or the second point of response, is the 50+1 threshold and the rejected votes. You'd remember Azimio is alleging that rejected votes should be used in calculating the 50+1. And therefore, if you use the rejected votes, then Ruto's win actually comes below the 50+1 votes. However, Ruto is arguing that there is precedence in 2013 and 2017 where the Supreme Court had said that only valid vote cast is used in making that calculation. To this end, I think Ruto has a stronger position, and I really don't see Supreme Court departing from that position. Third is talking about responding to the allegation of deletion, alteration, and replacement of forms. In this regard, he's saying he's not aware of anything. He's just saying, I'm not aware if there was some sort of deletion or some forms were altered or even replaced. I'm not aware of it. So he's pushing the ball to IEBC's door and also telling Azimio to prove their case, essentially, putting them to strict proof of that allegation. This again is a good approach because why would you go to an extent of arming the opponent? You don't need to say much. You won an election, that election is being challenged. Those people have the duty or the obligation to prove their case. Don't arm them. That is an approach that Ruto has taken. Nonetheless, he accuses both John Githongo and Benson Wesonga of falsifying documents under oath. So he's saying the affidavit by John Githongo and whatever that are attached there under as evidence or falsified document. Grave allegation indeed, that if proved, then would gravely impact the strength of Azimio's case. The fourth point of response is the staging, alteration, and dumping of Form 34As, 11,000 of them. Azimio is alleging that there was dumping of 11,000 forms within 8 minutes. So what Ruto is saying again in response to this, is saying that he's not aware of such a thing happening. However, this time he does not stop at an awareness. He proceeds, which in my view I think was wrong to do, to quote, or rather have his witness, one Raymond Kiprotich Bet, put in an affidavit to try to prove that particular point, that it was impossible for 11,000 votes 11,000 forms to be dumped within 8 minutes. Why am I saying that this is a wrong move? As I said earlier, Ruto participated as a candidate. There is no need for him going fishing for evidence or trying to justify anything. He is not aware. He should leave it at that. So could this then mean that there was some sort of dumping? I think yes. Because if he's saying that it couldn't have happened within 8 minutes, what he's saying is that there was dumping was possible, except that the 8 minutes dumping exercise alleged by Azimio makes it unbelievable. So it's a question of how much forms can you dump within 8 minutes. So we would really expect he's opened himself up for attack, essentially giving Azimio fodder to attack him. So that was, in my view, a really wrong approach. You should have just stayed as, I am unaware. Again, under this, he accuses Azimio of producing falsified logs, some of which are of the year 2017. Another serious allegation against Azimio, which again may impact their case gravely, their case seeking to nullify the elections or election of William Ruto. Oh, I'm saying this because if it is proved that they actually falsified evidence, then it would eventually hurt the believability that their case or the strength of the petition itself. So I think to that extent, Ruto stands on a stronger pedestal than Azimio. The fifth is with regard to failure of Kimskit, to which he responds that failure of Kimskit cannot lead to nullification of results. And I think that is easier for everyone to understand. It cannot lead to nullification of results. And he's saying, which is true, that a complementary system or a complementary mechanism was placed by IEBC to ensure that the integrity of elections in areas which experience such failures was restored. The problem, however, is that if that failure was human occasion, or Azimio can prove that this failure was occasioned by human intervention, then it hurts both IEBC and Ruto's case and strengthens Azimio case. Again, that is a point where we are really looking forward to hearing how advocates are going to argue it. The sixth point is the issue of infiltration of IEBC and manipulation of results. In this, Ruto asserts that he is really not aware of it, that there was manipulation. He's saying, I'm not aware if there was manipulation. I'm not aware if IEBC system was infiltrated. Another good strategy, pushing the ball to IEBC's doorstep and also asking Azimio to prove their case to court. The seventh response by Ruto is that is with respect to the allegation by Azimio that there was a reduction of Raila's votes and the variance in Form 34As. Ruto outrightly says there was no reduction of the votes and there was no variance or discrepancy with respect to the forms that are available for both the candidate agents, the IEBC and the IEBC. And again, he's saying he's not aware of any instances where Raila's votes were either reduced to favor him or his increased to disadvantage Raila Odinga. Lastly, which I think is an accusation coming from both sides, is both sides seems to be accusing each other of committing election offenses. Ruto's side does so and mentions at least 3 election offenses committed by Azimio. The first one, they are saying they use state resources in their campaigns. The second one, they're saying they involve civil servants and public officers in their campaigns. And the third one, they are saying they engaged in act of violence and hooliganism at the National Tallying Center, what Akina Kanchori did and what happened when Chebukati came out to release the final presidential results. So again, those are very serious allegations which would require proof, because these are now allegations that Ruto is making against the Raila side or Azimio side, which again I feel requires some response from the other side, because each of these parties are accusing each other of making or committing election offenses. So those are the 8 points of response by Ruto to Raila's petition. What is my thought about the response itself? I would say it is a well-crafted response. It does so much to avoid harming Azimio with any evidence that is averse to his win, and throws the ball back basically to Azimio's court to prove their case. And I think it's a good strategy by Ruto. You really don't want to be so much involved because you already have the win. So let IEBC, which conducted this election to defend the integrity of that election. So the war between these parties, or the petitioners and the respondent, basically what Ruto is saying, I am not involved in this. IEBC conducted this, let them deal with it. I'm merely mentioned, but what I can say is, according to me, the elections were free and fair. That marks the end of today's session. We will proceed and do more analysis as we progress in this matter. And therefore, keep it here for more objective political, legal, and social analysis. Subscribe, like, comment, and click that notification bell so that you are notified whenever we post something new. I'm wishing you a very good night. Thank you.